Hello, hello, hello. I'm not sure if anyone can see me as yet because I can't see my camera, but not to worry as yet. Let's see if I can't wake up the machine. While I do that, let's add Mr. Cracknell so we can.
There we go.
Yes, I'm not sure why I can't be seen, but not a bad thing.
Well, not necessarily.
So I can
things?
carry on. Not too bad. I'm going to carry on tinkering around in the background while I.
Do. See where we go from there. Okay, so I've kind of been looking at various different things. One of which is some bits of sort of new stuff that have come through, both from the point of view of a new network that's out there that we kind of had a conversation with yesterday, which is a lady who runs a organization called Consider Capital, called Esme, and it looks like quite an interesting network of funders and advisors and the like, and Esme is sort of very interested in supporting the social sort of kind of end of the investment curve. So that's quite interesting. And I put something out on one of our channels from the on Mighty Networks and added to that as well, because there is a scholarship that they're offering for various different groups, and it's probably worth taking a look at that if you feature in one of those particular communities, because this could be a good opportunity to increase your learning, which is something that we're always very focused on within the Weave, but also potentially connecting to different networks and the opportunity there. Secondly, just received an email from a lady called Eve Caldbeck, and Eve is a member of the Weave, and she's a part of the what we're doing in terms of the community here. But one of the things is she runs a network called Ambitious Women and Caldbeck, and Eve is very much she's a principal economic growth officer at the Essex County Council, and so we're looking at potentially opening up or trying to find ways of collaborating to deliver some networking events, ultimately within the science, technology, sort of engineering, arts and maths environment, and which is sort of pretty much all encompassing, to be perfectly honest. But I mean, it's that kind of women in tech that we're really kind of, again, eager to support and find opportunities there. And we've been talking with Carolina, who is somebody that works within the region, both in the technical industries, and she seems to be quite up for seeing whether we can't bring some more supporting to that particular community as well. What else have we been up to? We've been focused at the moment on getting the podcast sorted out, so we're really excited about that as it heads towards its launch at the end of the month. I also had another meeting with a really interesting guy who is again joined the community now, and he is runs a digital creative marketing agency, and but he's a B Corp as well. And as we're trying to be on the B Corp journey, which is something for us is really important. That's quite an interesting contact, because we can learn from him, from his journey, and ultimately what he had to do, and the things that he's had to really sort of kind of engage with to get that particular accreditation. So yeah, we've had some really interesting conversations this week, and it's been quite nice to be honest, to actually get out and have a cup of coffee with a few people. So that was also pretty good. What else? I met interesting guy the other day. at the University of Essex. We had a pitching event down there, which was an award event, really, with working with some of our latest businesses, and that they again really some very exciting stuff going on there as well. And very fortunately, I've got 2 or 3 of those that I'm mentoring and supporting, and hopefully I'll entice them to be a part of our community and also come in and get involved with the Weave as well. Yeah, so that's it. So from our perspective, it's been busy. It's been good to meet a lot of people this week. It's certainly been great to attend the Essex Startup event, and I think that adds a lot of colour and interest in what we're trying to do again within the region. And what about you, Adam? What have you been up to?
Well, other than the sort of the nursing stuff, that's all part of the course. I've been again sort of tinkering around with getting the sort of the network to a place where it's better serving people. Just adding more things into there, which is always quite exciting, just to sort of see what more things you can do to develop that.
Yeah,
contacting people about certain other little things like the My Most Trusted stuff, and trying to get that finished, which is various little sort of behind the scenes technology things, which is just strengthen what we're doing. Getting Alex up and running for her oncoming role as our new director, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
Putting the final touches, as you said, to the podcast, just getting that to a point where we're kind of getting everything sort of falling into place with that, and not only the first episode, but lining up some sort of exciting people for some upcoming episodes. I've been really encouraged to sort of see the amount of people that have been joining as well, and also referring other people. I'm a little bit annoyed that somebody's overtaken me in referrals. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it is a good problem to have, and it is nice, and it's an engaging platform, and I like it, and it's quite intuitive. I'm sort of I think my only thoughts on quite like something where you could potentially have a chat line, or with people. It seems a little bit limited on that kind of level of interaction. We've got the introduce yourself kind of environment, which we encourage people to do, because I think it's really important that people do update their profiles. I mean, in the future, as the platform kind of develops, we're always looking for suggestions. I mean, we're going to throw things out there, and one of the things that maybe would be good to set up were a couple of things, one of which is maybe creating a founders matching space. So ultimately bringing together people who are looking to maybe either work as a founder or be a part of a new organization and a founding team, and sort of kind of promoting them within that particular space. So actually creating a founders network on the back of all of that. The other thing that is quite interesting for us, which is something that we're certainly working towards in partnership with one of the HR businesses within the region, but is actually to create a intern job board. So that is actually working again with the university, but the intern side, whereby instead of it just being businesses reaching into the intern portfolio, it's actually encouraging the student body to actually promote what they're really interested in finding, and also looking to get to design potentially intern programs that would allow businesses to take on board students, people from different walks of life, from different backgrounds, different capabilities, and actually bringing them into their business, because we think that's a really positive kind of area of allowing everybody to learn their own leadership style and their own skills of developing people, but also from the point of view of the interns, actually giving them a much greater insight into the I guess the variety that exists within the region from all the businesses that are out there. interns aren't just cheap, they're not cheap labor by any stretch of the imagination. You've got to create some kind of structure around what you want from them in that regard. But what they are is they are, a phenomenal kind of learning environment and an opportunity for people to build advocates for their business that will then go back into another community and start to talk about their journey and what they've been doing within that particular framework. So, the University of Essex, say, for instance, has got, 15,000 students, looking to grow massively within that particular area. So there's a huge amount of potential and opportunity for graduates, postgrads, undergrads, MBAs, people like that to get involved in local business. And I think that's potentially really supportive to the growth story around the region.
No, absolutely. When the thing about sort of interns, which I've always found fascinating, is that it's at there where they're at the most sort of vibrant in their sort of entrepreneurial journey. They're sort of coming out into the world with this energy and optimism to tackle challenges, and by having that mutual relationship, creating an environment for them to flourish and perform and to utilize that energy, but also to give them insight into what it's like and how they can progress and develop. I think it's a very symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, definitely. And one we would encourage people to actually sort of engage with. We're looking at creating this easy in onboarding process from business perspectives into connecting with the intern process. So we want to act as an intermediary and add value to the community on the back of that. So that would give businesses the potential of finding some talent, finding and working with people like that in that particular area. And I think that's, again, interesting and really sort of kind of useful in terms of the development of what we're trying to do within the Weave.
I'm fairly certain we've got a blog about interns as well, actually.
Yeah, we did write a blog about them, and we'll continue to promote them. And I think once we've got some more kind of hard levels of information about the interns program that we're bringing on, and because there's some changes at the university, and so we're kind of again having that conversation with them down there. But I think also once we get that from the point of view of the HR business that we're working with, and we can start to launch that within the platform and within, whether we manage it in Mighty Networks or whether we manage it within the Weave, we'll have to find out which is the most effective on the website, which is the most effective way of doing it. But I think it's a really potentially a valuable means to bring the two communities together and actually create some real sort of uplift on both. So I see it as a potential win-win kind of situation.
Yeah, no, I think with the experimenting that we've been doing on what this platform can offer, I've not come up across anything that is giving me pause or cause for concern about its ability to handle that sort of thing.
Yeah,
and I guess it's also a good showcase for other people who are similarly in the same sort of boat, who are looking to maybe have got to the stage where they want to take their business or their idea to the stage where they want to create a community from it.
Yeah,
it seems to be perhaps a good progression, especially for people whose business revolves around them and their time. I've often thought of things like a personal trainer, for example. You could be only got so many hours a day to coach somebody, but if you create a community around your training ideals and your coaching ethos, then that's probably the next logical step for growth for somebody like that.
Yeah, without a shadow. So one of the things I did want to kind of touch on today was just to talk a little bit about maybe what people want from these kind of sessions, whether they want them to be more themed, and whether we deliver them as, if you like, kind of learning time or advice time on a on a Friday afternoon. So for us, it was always about creating a space in which people could come and reflect on the week and think about some of the positive things that they've done, some of the positive things that have happened, and
or not, as the case may be,
or not, as the case may be, and share some of those particular stories. And also, it's well worth mentioning, we are delivering at this moment in time one of the our Essex Business Accelerator programs. We're on our 5th cohort version of that, and the cohort that we got in this particular program just seemed to be really quite well connected in terms of this particular learning journey. It's another small select group of people, but it's really sort of kind of supportive of each other. And we've already got people collaborating. We've already got people looking at different projects, working together. And it's a really, again, I think we're getting a lot of positive feedback from, participants and, people out there who are, seeing the value of the process. So we've got another one of those starting up in the beginning of July, on I think it's July the 4th. So, Independence Day for that. But it's our first one. So it's the EBA version 6. And that's starting on the 4th of July, runs for another 8 weeks or so on the back of that. So another cohort. So if you are interested in sort of kind of coming together on a learning journey, it's fully funded. I'm not going to use the free word, because that would imply that it's of some insignificant value. But it's not. It's fully funded. It's a hugely valuable kind of learning journey and a process that people go through. So, if you are interested, let us know, but book it through, we can give you the link or whatever, but book it through Colby, because, from their perspective, they manage the process from that side of things. But from our point of view, we're, the Weave will deliver it, but we're really interested in helping and supporting as many people as we possibly can. And
we'll pop an event link in that.
We'll put it in the event link, and I think we'll do that along with any other events that people have out there. Hopefully, when we build these, we've got another 7th of July. There's an event called Pizza. No, sorry, that's an event called People Planet Pint. And I met the host of that the other day, and was talking to him. So we're going to try and get that event onto the platform as well. So ultimately people can find the link and work on that side of things, and we can try and grow that. But that's a network which is obviously, from what it's saying, it's very much about sustainability. And I think he said last time there were about 15 people at the event. It takes place in Colchester, and the last time, I think it's still at the Church Street Tavern, and I think it's 1:00 on the 7th of the 7th of July, and that's the kind of, it starts from that perspective. So do take a look at it if you're out there. We will get the event online, but this is all very much open as well to anybody out there. If you've got an event, if you want something publicized within the community, then please, let us know, and we'll take a look and make sure it's in line with our values and what we're trying to achieve. And then ultimately, we're more than happy to promote it, talk about it, get it out there as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we wanted to do, is not just have this as an echo chamber for our own thoughts and our own ideas, but sort of, I don't want to use the word weave, but weave in all the different sort of things that are happening around in the community that is of benefit to everybody else. So,
yeah, I think we keep using weave, Adam. I think it's a great metaphor for what we're trying to achieve and what we're doing.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those words. If you remember when we sat down and went through the day of trying very hard to come up with a name that was representative of how we all felt this organization or this business was actually trying to do. And I think we came across that word, and it just resonated. So I think that's the kind of one thing that I'm quite proud of. I think it's a really good name, and I think it does stand up.
On that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it does stand up to what we're trying to achieve within that particular space.
But also going back to a point that you said about having these as a bit more structured, I think that's, if people want to contact us and sort of have a semi-agenda or something like that, or perhaps there's an aspect of things that we've not covered in the course that you need clarification on, or if there's, you want our opinions on something new and emerging. I think probably everyone's sick of hearing about AI at the moment, but it's one of those things you've got to get a grasp of, because it's not going away. Amazon, I've just posted in the sort of the news section that Amazon, of course, are jumping on it, because you're going to get to the point where you're going to sort of tell Alexa that you want something, and it's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah,
it's scary. And we're just testing out the Zapier sort of integration, which makes a lot of sense. That's the kind of the future of AI that we were promised, is that you just tell a computer what you want and it figures out whether you've used the right syntax or whether you've done the right thing or plugged everything in. And hopefully we're going to get to a point in the not too distant future where the novelty of it will dissipate and it will become normalized, a bit like now we don't say smartphones as much, because it's one of those things. Or the idea of pinching to zoom in on a screen was such a novelty about 10 years ago, but now my 2-year-old can do it. So it's one of those things. So if there's a term or a sort of technology or something like that, or a podcasting workshop on just the basics of getting started, this can be molded into whatever would be of benefit.
So on that particular note, it's interesting to know that ChatGPT have now actually developed their iOS application. So I think you can now actually download ChatGPT on iOS, and it gives you access to GPT-4. So from a point of view of more up to date crunching of the internet, then ultimately that's what you're going to get in your pocket. And I think potentially
the use of it though, what's
actually very very interestingly, I think it's the more you engage with it, the more actually you find things to do with it and use for it. So one of the things that I was having read a lot of books or things where I go back and look at a particular book, and if I go to ChatGPT and I say, can you just remind me about chapter 3 of this particular book, it'll go off and it'll write up a synopsis of a particular chapter or a particular aspect of the book or whatever. So and I know that you can access that in multiple different ways, and there's nothing, you could go and use Blinkist or whatever, but the bottom line of it is that I don't know. I presume Blinkist. If nobody's ever used Blinkist, it's an application which creates truncated synopses of particular books and picks out key learnings in a very sort of kind of in a form which is full of brevity, but is also quite useful. But I can't imagine. I don't know. I can't imagine that's all human interaction. I've got to imagine that Blinkist must be using, AI or open AI to actually create some of this kind of content for them. But the point being, as well, apart from the brand and the kind of structure that Blinkist brings to that particular process, I wonder whether just the outcomes are potentially usurping what Blinkist are trying to achieve. And
quite possibly. I mean, especially now with this sort of technology being plugged into text-to-speech programs, then it's indistinguishable. I'm writing a blog at the moment based on which I'm going to be putting in the next newsletter, based on a really good video that I saw about how to really tailor what you use it for, because I think, like with most things, it's the novelty of using it, and there's ways in which you can use it that are very poor. So just like you know, I'm a marketing executive, write me an email to get me more sales, and it will churn out what it thinks is the best. But like with most things, it's rubbish in, rubbish out. But the more specific you can be, the better. And some of the things that I've found that have been really exciting is that you can ask it to take on personas, which is a really fascinating thing. Like you can ask it to take on the persona of like sort of Michael Jordan or Steve Jobs, and sort of say, what did you think about, how did you come up with the idea of the iPhone? And it will talk back to you as if it's Steve Jobs. But the benefit from a business perspective is you can say, well, take on the persona of an advertising expert or an SEO expert, and they will use that. And think language learning like Duolingo and these free learning apps are selling these personas as a premium add-on feature, where basically you can just ask ChatGPT and say like, I speak French at a basic level, can you speak to me as if you're a French teacher and correct my grammar? And it's all have a conversation with you when you're trying to learn a language. Or you're a psychology professor and I'm trying to prepare for my exam, and things like this. And you just think that's obviously got to be that, the power of it. Or you can feed it your blog posts and say, this is how I write. Can you write something as if you're me? And it's sort of, for better or for worse, will pick up on your mannerisms and your intonations and things like that. But
I think, and I think it's interesting because I think that there are so many apps and applications that are embedded into various different products. So one of the things, say for instance, that's just recently, I guess over the last sort of, I would have thought over the last 5-6 months maximum, that say for instance, Zoom has embedded huge number of apps into its platform, so that anything from meeting notes to recording calls, recording conferences, creating agendas. So there's an app in there called Sesh, which is a visual meeting agenda, and keeps your meetings online, but it keeps them in line, in line with your kind of application. There's Prezi, which is another kind of interactive app, which ultimately allows participants to stay and interact together in a different and perhaps a slightly more meaningful way. The one that I get used quite a lot, which you just, when you do a Zoom call, it automatically kicks up, which kind of means somewhere along the line you've got to tell people that it's going to get recorded, but it appears as a participant to your call, and it's called Fathom, and that's again on Zoom. But what the beauty of that is that not only does it record your conversations, it does a full transcript of a pretty good transcript of what you've been talking about. It also, through AI, develops that into a series of notes. So you've got that particular area. So it breaks it down into a series maybe of 10 bullet points for that particular call. And that's again an incredibly useful sort of mechanism to capture what you're doing, and so that you keep a record of it in a meaningful way. The downside out of all of that is that if you allow the technology to do it for you, somewhere along the line your mind doesn't necessarily kind of stay connected to the learning. So you've got to
read. Saying about Google, wasn't it, when it first came out? It was like, if the answers are always at hand, then are you losing the power of inquiry and the power of sort of reasoning? And I guess now, as things progress, are you losing the ability to tell what is real as a fact and what is opinion? And obviously, you can always make, journalists have been tricking ChatGPT since it came out. Tell me about sort of this made up name who's a physicist, and it's not, then ChatGPT will quite confidently talk about somebody who doesn't exist. And obviously, these sort of things are all going to get ironed out until we get to this homogenous state where there's going to be this technology embedded in every device, and you're going to be in that Star Trek future of just speaking to your computer and it will talk back in a conversational and informative way, where you don't have to use special incantation words and have to say, because that when things like Siri and all these other AI assistants came out, that was always the promise, but it never quite fully delivered. Not only because it wasn't as integrated as it could be with all of the things that are unique about you, but also because you could say something one day and it would recognize you, and you could say something another day, like, what's the weather like today, or is it going to rain today? And these sort of, you've got to say it in a certain way, and it's got better at sort of recognizing your meaning based on the words that you're saying. But with the power of these sort of AI functions behind them, then it is going to be a scary thing. But I think the problem is for people is just how to use it in a way that's like, I saw a company that's doing, you can sign up to it and it will handle things like it's kind of like having a lawyer for you. It will handle things like appeals for parking fines for you. It will handle sort of the mundane emailing back and forth, making an appeal on your behalf, or other sort of minor legal things that you have to do. And I think, well, that's obviously what you want. That's a really valuable thing. Having to take away a lot of the mundane, perfunctory things that you have to do in your daily life is something that you want to get away from, and hope that AI can save you from having to do.
Yeah. So just interestingly, I was just looking at a piece of, I just got sent a particular application called User Maven, and it's a marketing analytics lifetime. You can get a lifetime deal on it. User Maven lifetime deal, $49. So it's expired. So that's expired. So how we made $120,260 in 3 weeks of launching our service as a software platform through User Maven.
User Maven.
Yeah. So I mean, there's just there's a whole kind of array of you can just go through applications like there is no tomorrow. And I guess that from this point of view, that's half the battle is being discerning when you're thinking about technology and how you embed it within the business. But this particular product, User Maven, where is it? Does it say Fathom? There we go. User Maven. So we made hundreds of this is the story. It says we use a Maven privacy-friendly analytics tool for product and marketing teams. I'm going to cover everything we did. It's just an interesting tool by the look of it. So there's loads of them out there. Funny enough, there's a PetCube thing which I looked at. Well, not looked at when I was involved in the dog daycare centre. One of the things that we were looking at was development a pet insurance and vet app, as well as a training app. But there seems to be plenty of those now on the marketplace as well. Persona AI, GPT superpowers for prospecting.
I mean, there's an AI tool that I've been looking at, which is still in beta, and it's called Gyroscope AI, which is an app that I use and have used for many, many years. It's basically like your personal health dashboards. So it lives on your phone or in your computer, and it's sort of plugged into all of your sort of, your wristband and your whatever to monitor all your stuff. And you take pictures of your food, and it gets sent to somebody to say how good your food is. But what they've done, which is a really clever way of doing it, is they've integrated all of that within ChatGPT's kind of knowledge framework. And so when you take a picture of the food, it then talks back to you and says, okay, perhaps, you should have tried to swap this out. Don't eat so much of that. And, you know, like the adverts show you when you go onto Bing, you can say, oh, make a workout plan for me and all these sort of things. And the good thing about it is it kind of knows you because it's got access to all of your analytics and all of your personal details. But also, the good thing about it is it sort of remembers things. So if you have a particularly good day and a particularly bad day, it can kind of adjust to these sort of things. So I think that's kind of the very near future, is that we're going to have these AI assistants who are so deeply personal, for better or for worse, that are going to be almost uncannily accurate with their recommendations and with their guidance. But I'm not quite sure how I feel about Amazon having like a sort of a friendly chat persona when you're just wanting to sort of buy rechargeable batteries. You think?
But you know for well that with Amazon that I mean they've had their fair share of failures as well, but and they come at it from a very different sort of kind of perspective. But
Laser focused customer service.
Laser focused customer service, yeah, and you can't argue with that. You can't argue with how intrinsic it is now in our lives that that this. And I know there are plenty of people who rebelled against it, and there are plenty of people who say, "Oh, I will never use Amazon because it does this, that, and the other, and it pays and exploits its workers, and it does this, that, and the other." And I do get that, but it's now become so intrinsic to to our shopping experience. One can only hope, in some respects, that there will be a form of competition that comes in and does something slightly better and more ethical around that kind of process. But it's
got to the point now where to try and boycott Amazon in any meaningful sense, you're really sort of hobbling yourself.
Well, you are, and I think the shame of that is obviously it's changed the dynamics of the high street massively. It's done a lot of that, but I think the high street's got to engage in different experiences. It's got to be thinking very differently about what it provides and what it offers. I think that the challenge for the high street is huge, but I think you can imagine in a few years' time that the high street as per se is going to be a massively different experience to what it is today.
And you can't blame customers for that. No. It's a bit like sort of blaming sort of obesity on people's individual desire to eat, which is obviously part of the problem. But then you've also got a system where sugary, high-fat food is ridiculously cheap, and healthier options are less accessible. Or
absolutely,
climate change is the problem of people leaving their lights on, whereas in fact it's the system that has been created to allow these companies to do these things. We've created a system to allow a company like Amazon to now have a speaker and a microphone in every room, cameras now in every room, and they've also brought Roomba, so now they can know the physical dimensions of your house. So there's really not much more that they can know about you, and now they're going to have a friendly, chatty person sort of making recommendations to you based on the sort of scariest insights and knowledge. You could be sort of singing a song, and it could suddenly recommend that you buy the CD version of it. It's going to happen. I can see it.
It is going to happen, isn't it? Just going to happen.
We could say you could just be walking around saying, "Oh, I'm a bit peckish," and it's going to sort of suddenly blurt up that there's some a deal on with Deliveroo.
Yeah. Okay. So let's finish this particular thing with just this message. Let's just sobering thoughts. Let's finish it with this particular vision. One of which is the Weaver's there just to listen as much as anything else about what the community wants in terms of support, emphasis, guidance. We're all on a learning journey. It's a very, very dynamic environment out there. So we all know at the end of the day, what we can suggest today could be very, very different for tomorrow. But we will listen, and we will certainly try to include that. If we want these to be more structured, let us know, because we're quite happy to do micro sessions within the hour, maybe not a full hour on a particular topic, but if you wanted to explore finance in some way, or if you wanted to look at funding opportunities, or if you wanted to look at, how do we create TikTok adverts and what does that make up, or should I be marketing on TikTok given the considerations, or should I be actually focused upon another platform, another social platform of some description? And also, I think it's probably worth thinking about all of those other social platforms that are being sort of kind of replacing the likes of Twitter, or that's their aim and their ambition, and whether we actually really think they have a real standing chance to take over from Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. Now we've got TikTok, Snapchat, all of those relevant platforms. So okay, so what is everybody on? What are people looking at, and what are people doing in that score? And is there things that we can share that can actually help us present ourselves in a far better way? So it's open to the community to be able to actually contribute and find out what they particularly would like from that perspective. And I think also, any other topics that we want to talk about, sustainability, circular business models, registrations like B Corp, what we're doing at the moment in terms of the strategy around that, and it's something which is an ongoing process. So there's loads and loads of stuff that we can cover, but we just want to make it sure that it's right for you guys and right for the community as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. So stay in touch, watch this video back at your leisure, and there's always more stuff to come. So we look forward to seeing you on the inside.
Take care, everybody. See you soon.
Bye for now.
Bye.